Hi, welcome to the channel. Welcome back. This time not in a video, this time in a podcast. And this is from Art and Culture, the evidence too. And and yeah, and I'm here now and I'm gonna explain you about the Baroque art, like the image. So, well, as I said, it's not a video, it's a podcast. So this time you're not seeing my face, you're not watching it. So it's only audio, so you only will hear my voice during the next 10-15 minutes. So let's introduce you to the Baroque art. Okay, okay. This is a style of architecture, music, dance, painting, sculpture, and other arts that flourished in Europe. When? From the early 17th century until the mid 17th century, exactly in the 1740s, were in the territories of the Spanish and Portuguese empires, including the Iberian Peninsula. Then it continued together with new styles until the first decade of the 80s and of the 18th, sorry. Okay, so just a little bit of context. It was encouraged by the Catholic Church to counter the simplicity and austerity of Protestant architecture, art, and music. Though Lutheran Baroque art developed in parts of Europe as well. And specifically, this video, this podcast it's hard to explain, the art because, the Baroque art is more visual than anything. So it's hard to explain to you. It's just like imagine that I'm gonna try to explain you what I'm seeing or what the painting is picturing, is showing. Sorry. So it's hard to imagine it. So I'm gonna explain it. I'll give it a chance. So yeah, wait. Okay, so the Baroque style used contrast, movement, exuberant detail, deep color, grandeur, and surprise to achieve a sense of awe. Um, hmm, and yeah, you can. That's all the context you're gonna get. Uh, and yeah, so now what what is next? I'm going to talk about three people that were important by this huge movement, this art, this style. One is a painter, another is an architecture, and the last one is is a sculptor. So yeah, they're like the main people, the main references to this art, the pioneers. So yeah, first, and I'm gonna talk about just a little description, a little biography of the person, and I'm going to explain to you on my best that I could explain three important artworks that he made. So yeah, first we have the architect. This one is Francesco Novirgolini Borromini. Francesco Romini was an Italian architect born in the modern Swiss canton of Ticino, who, with his contemporaries Gian Lorenzo Bernini and Pietro da Cortona, was a leading figure in the emergence of Roman Baroque architecture. He was a keen student of the architecture of, you know who, Michelangelo, and the ruins of antiquity And yeah, Borromini developed an inventive and distinctive, if somewhat idiosyncratic, architecture employing manipulations of classical architectural forms, geometrical rationales in his plans, and symbolic meanings in his buildings. So, yeah, mm, the first, well, it's not the first, but the first we're gonna talk. Oh no, yeah, this artwork was the first commission from Borromini, San Carlo alle Quattro Fontane. Yeah, this one it was shaped like a mixture of a cross, a rectangle, and an oval, creating a strange form but also could be used to have a central plan and a basilica. And okay, we have 6 minutes, so okay, let's continue. Then the next one is the Oratory of Saint Philip Neri. In the late 16th century, the congregation of the Filippini, also known as the Oratorians, rebuilt the church of Santa Maria in Bailisea. Okay, all these names you are hearing are Italian, so, and I'm not Italian, but I'm giving my best. So let's turn back. Okay, yeah, the church of Santa Maria in Bailisea, um, in central Rome. Yeah, it was there, the Oratory of Saint Philip Neri. In the 1620s, on a site adjacent to the church, the fathers commissioned designs for their own residence and for an oratory in which to hold their spiritual exercises. These exercises combined preaching and music in a form which became immensely popular and highly influential on the development of the musical oratorio. Then the last one, this is a hard one, Saint Lebo a la Sapienza. From the decades 1640 and 1650, he worked on the design of the church of, Saint Lebo a la Sapienza and its courtyard, near University of Rome La Sapienza Palace. It was initially the church of the Roman Archignacio. He had been initially recommended for the commission in 1632 by his then supervisor for the work at the Palazzo Barberini. This site, like many in Crown Road, is challenged for external perspectives. It was built at the end of Giacomo della Porta's long courtyard. The dome and councillors' temple are peculiar and reflect the idiosyncratic architecture motifs that distinguish Borromini from contemporaries. So yeah, all these artworks, these structures are architecture. So they are not, well, they are art, but not the stereotype that they mention art and you imagine a painting. No, this is architecture. But anyway, let's head now to our special sculptor, Gian Lorenzo Bernini. Okay, yeah, Gian Lorenzo Bernini. This was one of the most influential sculptors from the Baroque period. His sculptures are vivid, intense, and all of their characters show strength and movement. He was another Italian, sculptor and architect. He was also an architect. While a major figure in the world of architecture, he was more prominently the leading sculptor of his age, credited with creating the Baroque style of sculpture. As an architect and city planner, he designed secular buildings, churches, chapels, and public squares, as well as massive works combining both architecture and sculpture. So yeah, he was like a hybrid. Yeah. So his first sculpture, Pluto and Proserpina. This sculpture represents the moment when the god Pluto takes Proserpina to the underworld. It depicts Pluto holding Proserpina while she tries to escape, and it is an impressive, very detailed sculpture, 89 inches high. And mm, and yeah, more specifically, Pluto is grabbing the leg of Proserpina, and the spectator can look the way his hand is digging in her flesh. Proserpina's hand is pushing Pluto's head, and you can see his reaction. Then the next sculptor is named David. There is another David sculpture, but this time from the Baroque period. This sculpture uses the space around it, reaching out into the space of the viewer. There is some kind of energy that allows to understand and comprehend what is happening. It's hard to explain it. Characters are not far from the spectator and they are not perfect, but dealing with real struggles. And David is in tension, looking at the right moment to attack Goliath. You are familiar to this story. It is from David and Goliath. And the last sculpture is with the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, a very intense sculpture where facial expressions and position of the characters are fundamental. It is located in the Cornaro Chapel in Rome. The origin of this sculpture is a religious scene where Saint Teresa's heart is inflicted with a sword, making Saint Teresa to achieve a spiritual moment of ecstasy. Yeah, that's deep. In the sculpture, the angel is carrying an arrow, and Saint Teresa is depicted with her eyes closed, concentrated in their own spiritual moment. At the top of the sculpture, there are some rays of light, like if God Himself is illuminating the scene. So I think this one really tells what is happening, or at least I described it well. And I think this is my favorite one of this artist. Um, I invite you to search it because this is a different art. This is a sculpture art, and if you want a Baroque style, this is the perfect fit, the perfect sculpture to describe it. So, last but not least, we have the painter. And yeah, this one, he has also an interesting case. So, wait, okay. So, yeah. No. The painter is Johannes Vermeer. He was, now surprise, was a Dutch Baroque period painter who specialized in domestic interior scenes of middle-class life. During his lifetime, he was a moderately successful provincial genre painter, recognized in Delft and The Hague. I don't know how it's said. Okay, so nonetheless, he produced relatively few paintings and evidently was not wealthy, leaving his wife and children in debt at his death. Vermeer worked slowly and with great care and frequently used very expensive pigments. He is particularly renowned for his masterly treatment and use of light in his work. So one interesting thing that I read, it was that he made about 50 paintings in average, but only three only three were signed and dated by him. The all the others were, I don't know, they weren't signed and dated. But yeah, so only three he signed, and I'm going to talk you about these three paintings. So the first one is called the Procuress. It is his first genre painting and shows a scene of contemporary life, an image of mercenary love, perhaps in a brothel. It differs from his earlier biblical and mythological scenes. It is one of only three, as I told you, it is one of only three paintings per Vermeer signed and dated. The woman in black, well, this is more a descriptive way, a more visual way. The woman in black, the lyric coupler in a nun's costume, could be the eponymous procuress, while the man to her right, wearing a black beret and a doublet with slashed sleeves, has been identified as a self-portrait of the artist. There is a resemblance with the painter in Vermeer's The Art of Painting. Vermeer is in the painting as a musician in the ploy of the Madame. So yeah, this is quite interesting, but it is not my favorite. The next two are more interesting. So we have the astronomer. Portrayals of scientists were a favorite topic in 17th century Dutch painting, and Vermeer's oeuvre includes both this astronomer and the slightly later the geographer, the other painting. Both are believed to portray the same man, possibly Antony van Leeuwenhoek, and a 2017 study indicated that the canvas for the two works came from the same mold of material, confirming their close relationship. It's a painting finished in about 1668, and it is in oil on canvas, 51 times 45 centimeters, and is on display at the Louvre in Paris, France. And yeah, the another related painting, the Geographer. It is closely related to Vermeer's The Astronomer, for instance, using the same model in the same dress, and has sometimes been considered a pendant painting to it. So yeah, the Geographer dressed in a Japanese style robe, then popular among scholars, is shown to be someone excited by intellectual inquiry with his active stance. The presence of maps, charts, a globe, and books, as well as the dividers he holds in his right hand, um, shows are shown in the painting. The energy in this painting is conveyed most notably throughout the figure's pose, and the massing of objects on the left side of the composition and the sequence of diagonal shadows on the wall to the right. So yeah, and that's it. We have 18 minutes. Okay. So I think it was great. It was good, and I invite you to search for all if you want, but specifically for the last two, because I don't know. It's like when you see a movie and there's a sequel. That's how it remind me of, because one is the astronomer and one is the geographer, and they are almost like the same painting, but it's just like a sequel. And it is important to mention that it they they're no they were only the two paintings that were signed and dated, two of the three. So yeah, it is important to mention it. So yeah, we finished. Thank you for hearing this podcast, my first podcast, maybe the last one. And thank you, all of you, and maybe we'll see in the next video when you will see my face. Bye bye.